Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to finish up this phenomenally dreary week of sad and depressing music with a band that I'm not quite sure falls under that just based off of names alone. The band is The Front Bottoms. The track is called Flashlight. I don't like any kind of light. Certainly not one that's going to flash me, so I'm not sure what we're getting in store for. But let's check this song out from The Front Bottoms. They don't look very emo.
Everything's alright. You are still here, you are still happy, you are still smiling and laughing.
I love the dual vocals.
You are still the only thing and everything I need in my life.
A lot of drive on the drums though.
And it goes in, out through the mouth. Breathing
trumpet?
exercises I will never figure out till I am running in circles or walking in circles or crawling in circles or lying on the ground. And I can hear your dog whistle from my bedroom.
Yeah, I got the trumpet.
Yeah, and I can see a flashlight cutting up the trees behind my house. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I like that dissonant electric guitar faintly behind this clean guitar that's really taking the prominence in the spotlight.
A lot of the kids we graduated with are now homeless, which puts them in mad shady situations with mad shady people, if not every day, then on an every other day basis. And she's probably with a few of them right now, and they are probably just drinking and talking about how she misses getting.
Anybody else get like a Bo Burnham vibe from this?
And he says, hey, you're good at that, and she says, thanks. It's kind of all I got. And then she looks away and says, it's also all I need. And I can smell plastic burning, I can smell chemicals breaking down. I got your last 3 emails, the ones where you said I was sorting some things out. And he will be able to hear her dog whistle from his bedroom. Yeah, yeah. And I will see a flashlight cutting up the trees behind my house.
Okay, so this whole chorus has a strong drive to it because of the 3-3-2 idea going on.
And I will read the flashing like a Morse code explanation that will mean nothing, but take all night to figure out.
And then we got the electric guitar again.
like everything's alright.
Holy layers.
When I am sad, oh God, I'm sad. But when I'm happy, I am happy. And there's just no place in between for us to in my life.
I don't know that every part of the song really worked for me, but I do firmly believe that everything was required to deliver the ending the way that it did with the impact that it did, and the ending was phenomenal, so I give everything else a pass. um, so let's talk about what's going on here. We start off the track with clean guitar, a little bit of electric guitar, drums, and vocals. And already with the vocals, we have an occasional um, backup vocal going on. And through this, we already see a bit of duality between the clean versus the distorted with the guitars, and the laid back element in our clean guitar versus the ridiculous amount of drive in our drums, just constantly hammering on the hi-hat. We have the classic jazz idea of using the hi-hat pedal on every downbeat to, if nothing else, lay down the tempo, the time signature. Despite your hands being so active and doing these fills and playing around with odd accents, you still have that downbeat strike somewhere in the kit. But it also adds an extra layer. There's at least three or four things. There are four things going on pretty much at any time with the drums. Because we got the bass kick, both hands you're always moving, and then our left foot is on the hi-hat pedal. It is an extremely driving, momentous aspect of the track when everything else feels dreary and held back. Even our vocals are just very colloquial. There's a lot of just sing-songy speech to it, almost like someone is singing a conversation to, or singing a story to us. It all feels very conversational as far as the words themselves, the way they flow, the overall rhythmic cadence. It is kind of singy in a way, but it's also sort of spoken in a way, and that particularly is what reminded me of. I had brought up Bo Burnham, and especially if you listen to his songs, whether it's in his stand-up or pre-stand-up days when he was doing YouTube videos. Yeah, that's that sing-songy kind of spoken storytelling song style. I don't know if there was any connection between the front bottoms and Bo Burnham. Maybe one inspired the other, maybe neither of them knew the other one existed at all, and they created their stuff in tandem and separate. Maybe they were both inspired by something that came before the both of them. I don't know the history of all this stuff, but I do really feel that Bo Burnham style here, especially in the vocal delivery. And even a little bit of the lyrical content, the little bit that I picked up. There's a lot of elements in there that feel word painty, but also done in a way that feels like it's embellishing an idea without actually lending itself to adding much other than the embellishment. And we'll get on that when we get to the lyrics. I really like that style. There's a comedic tongue-in-cheek element to some of the lines. Like I said, they don't really add anything to the story itself, but it adds a little bit of a comedic edge to it. And we go from here into our chorus, which just ramps everything up. I think we ditch the electric guitar, either that or it gets covered up. We have a trumpet that's added in here, really like that. We have more of the vocal harmonizations, and our drums open up even wider. There is somehow more drumming to be had. Although I think it's because just prior to this, in maybe like the end of the verse or maybe a pre-chorus, I think both times we went into a cross-sticking idea on the snare, so we didn't necessarily need to get louder, but we bring it down for just a moment. We kind of bring in the drums a hair, so when we get into the chorus, it feels like we're opening up again, even though we're just going back to where we were. That's a possibility. Um, and yeah, that's the chorus. It continues on this idea. Um, And then we sort of bounce around with these various things for a bit until we get to our final moment. And what I mean by the various bits is that we're going to have a faster drumming idea and our chords on our acoustic guitar. That is present in every situation. We also have secondary vocals, both a male and a female, I think. We also have the trumpet. We have our electric guitar. And these can come in any sort of combinations at any time to add or embellish on what the drum and guitar idea is doing. And we do hear a variety of combinations of these up until the end when everything comes together. We get everything. It is overwhelming. It feels anxiety inducing. We have the tension in the guitar that's louder than it's ever been. It's not really hiding underneath the acoustic anymore. It's pretty much in line with it. We have our chord progression on the acoustic. We have our main melody on our lead vocal, our primary vocalist. We have driving drum that's more driving than we've ever been. The trumpet is continuing to play, somehow finding space within all of this. And then we also have a left panned male vocal that is doing something totally different than our right panned. And halfway through this final outro, we actually have the female vocals come back in center, I think, center left, somewhere in that area, doing her own thing. And everybody's just, there's just a lot going on. Other than our acoustic guitar playing chords, although they're more rhythmically oriented chords, it actually provides a rhythm against our drums. Um, it's it's dual role there. We have the chords there, and they're playing with a rhythmic cadence that is juxtaposed to our drums. So we actually have two rhythms coming out of this. But aside from our acoustic guitar here playing chords, nothing's really taking a foundational stance. It is one of the most unbalanced things I've ever heard. It sounds like it could topple at any moment. Usually, when we talk about music, we talk about it in a triangle shape or a pyramid shape where our foundation is the biggest aspect. It could be width, it could be layers, whatever. It needs to be strong enough, and everything above it comes to a point. You're going to have less and less melodic components, less and less rhythmic components, and your melody that sits on the top of everything, you're going to have just one or two ideas of. You can go to three if your foundation supports it, and also your production and composition supports it, because three melody lines simultaneously requires space, unless you want it to be muddy. So you start with a wide foundation with a lot of things, and you slowly remove or lessen the amount of things above it. That is traditional composition format. Here we have one foundational instrument and seven lead lines going on, and it is just not geared for that, and somehow it works. And that is what I love about checking out music like this, especially music that isn't based in theory. Or at least this doesn't feel like it is. It feels like a bunch of people who just have it in their gut what they want to do, and they just do it. They might not even know what they're playing. They might not know how to transpose it into sheet music, but they know how to play it, and they know how to get it from their head out into people's ears, and that's the important part. And we come up with something like this that, while somebody might purposefully compose something like this with the experimentation in mind of how far they can push this concept, it's not something that's done too often if you're coming at it from a theoretical angle, because foundation is a very important aspect of music. There's so many times, even on this channel, where I've said everything's real nice about this, but production wise there's just not enough on the lower end to make this feel full. and you end up getting an anemic sound or something that feels, jarbled. If you have too many melodies and not enough foundational stuff, it can feel like, it's just a chaotic piece of music. And while occasionally that's what the band might be going for, that's not always the case in what, from my perspective. There's a lot of ways to mess this up, is what I'm saying. And somehow it all comes together here. We have dissonance, we have cleanliness, we have, very subdued vocal elements. Then we also have chaotic vocal elements. We have single melodies. We have so many melodies. Um, and it works. We see so many extremes from, like I said, just at the beginning, everything having exactly one role to duplicating so many roles in our outro. Just the sheer compositional aspect of this track, completely ignoring what emotions I think they're going for, or the vocal delivery, or themes. Just looking at the pure composition of that final moment, it is bonkers. I'm actually kind of curious if anybody has any musical training. Well, as far as anybody who composed this, sometimes bands just have one composer. So anybody who took part in the composition process of this, though, if any of them had a theoretical background, even if it's just dipping their toes into roles and functions, uh, or if this was just done completely by gut, by raw instinct, because it is just, that ending is so good. Um, so yeah, we talked about structure. We talked about how each of the instruments. Let's talk about um, theme. Yeah, we'll do theme, and then we'll dive into the lyrics. So what's going on here? This is emo week. We're exploring emotional songs. Uh, what are the emotions and atmospheres of this track? And this is an interesting one because, like I said, there's a lot of conflicting concepts going on. We have grittiness and cleanliness. The grittiness is actually kind of buried down a little bit. I'm not sure what to make of that yet. We also have a warm acoustic guitar that is paired with the very neutral sounding vocals that are paired with a bright trumpet and bright backup vocals. Both of the backup vocals, the male and female, are both very bright compared to our main vocalist, um, which, like I said, has more of a neutral sound. It sits in between the brighter and the darker elements. Um, we have this forward momentum and rushing of the drummer. The drummer feels like he should be in a punk band. Um, or I should specifically say maybe a pop punk band. Just a very energetic, bouncy, driving drum style that focuses on hitting a lot of notes. In fact, it was the chorus, maybe the outro, where we actually increased the amount of forward momentum that was felt because we shifted from an even style of accenting throughout the track, which I think was 2 and 4, to shifting it over an 8-beat count and turning it into a 3-3-2. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you get the dot, 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 and then you have that little bit of rush where you're expecting to hit another group of 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And you get that little rush there. You're expecting another unaccented hit, and you actually get an accented one because we're pushing over to 1 now. So it causes the end of each bar to feel like it's rushing just a tad bit more than it already is. And like I said, we entered that from more of a 2 and 4 kind of backbeat kind of vibe that we saw earlier in the track. The drummer is just providing raw momentum and energy for the entire song, whether it's driving beats that help push the track forward or just a raw bounciness and energetic quality to the drum patterns. It is in stark contrast to everything else that is just very laid back. The vocals, I would say lyrically, have a lot of hits in them, but feel withheld and dragging almost. The guitar and the trumpets just play chords, not really driving towards anything. The trumpet specifically plays a lot of whole notes, doesn't really change their note too often at all. The electric guitar has these short, isolated bursts, maybe 3 or 4 notes, and then a break, and then 3 or 4 notes, and then break. It has time to stop playing and breathe, very different from our drums. And when we get to the final moment with our three vocalists, there is no moment to breathe at all. This is the only time I think that the song really comes together with the drums and has this forward momentum, this driving element, because there is just every bit of this final moment feels like the walls closing in. It's very anxious, which lines up with some of the energy that the drums have been providing the entire track. So yeah, just throughout this whole song, there's these conflicting ideas, and I'm not sure what to make out of much of it. Even when we look at the music, the chords kind of have a dreariness to them, but the notes that the vocalist is singing don't, and the electric guitar, the trumpet's kind of a mixed bag. Sometimes it leans into the dreariness, and sometimes it leads towards something a little bit more positive and optimistic. And the song is just kind of all over the place in a lot of regards, and I can't really get a strong read on it other than anxiety. Anxiety is something that, at least when it affects me, makes it difficult to concentrate on anything. It makes everything happening simultaneously. I am constantly calm and rushed. I am sad and happy. I feel like I've lost control over my feelings because I'm inundated with all of it. And maybe that's what this is about. But yeah, other than that, it's too chaotic in its emotional landscape for me to really land on a specific emotion or vibe and say this is what's going on. It's sort of all over the place depending on what you listen to and what you key into. You're going to get a different vibe throughout it. So let's dive into the lyrics because I don't think I have anything else to add here. And this is going to take a while because well, it's a 5-minute song. There's singing through most of it, and there's a lot of sections where we're getting double tracks out of it. So, yeah, there's just a lot of words to sift through. See, we got a verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, coda. Ooh, a coda. That's interesting. A coda is when you return to a previous section, which we don't typically utilize too often in rock, pop, hip hop, mainstream music. We don't refer to them as codas because a lot of our structure is loop based. We return to the chorus often, we return to the verse often. It might be different words, but musically it's a return to what the verse was doing. Codas are typically used in more linear music to designate going back to a previous section. Sometimes wholesale, just going back and playing everything all over again, and sometimes temporarily. We'll go back and play maybe 8 bars and then skip back to where we were. And I don't remember what the name of that symbol is that tells you to go back to where the coda was at to finish off and, skip everything between this part and the original return. But yeah, coda is just not a word that I typically see in something like this, and I'm not even sure it entirely fits. I would just, it looks like it's repeating the first verse. Yeah, so I mean, I would just call it verse 3 and that's what I would do. I don't know. Anyways, verse 1. Please fall asleep so I can take pictures of you and hang them in my room so when I wake, I'll be like, yeah, everything's all right. You are still here. You are still happy. You are still smiling and laughing. You are still the only thing and everything I need in my life. All right, so there's a few lines in here that are doubled up. That's the everything's all right. and the word here, which if I kind of remember, the backup vocalist held out that here for like a bar or two, shifting notes and kind of having this descending idea. Um, could lean into the idea that this person's not around. Maybe they passed. I don't know, because obviously this person's a bit distressed, thinking that everything's all right because this person's still here and happy and smiling and laughing, and maybe they're not. Maybe it's not just, we broke up and you're not here with me, but it's not you're not here on Earth anymore is possibly a read on that. Um, but yeah, the idea here is that they want a keepsake to remember this person because they meant a lot to him. It says, "You're the only thing and everything I need in my life." The pre-chorus says, and it goes in, out through the mouth, breathing exercises I'll never figure out till I'm running in circles, or I'm walking in circles, or I'm crawling in circles, or lying on the ground. All right. So, I mean, it says breathing exercises in, out through the mouth. Um, breathing exercise will never. It's almost like part of it is calming down, right? Anxiety. You do breathing exercises to calm your mind from racing and stuff like that. It says, but he's never going to figure him out until running in circles or walking in circles or crawling in circles or lying on the ground. Um, this to me could be a manifestation of the anxiety, just pacing, right? But I think it's also interesting to show the diminishing energy levels here. Of first, it's running, then walking, then crawling, then just lying on the ground. It shows a continuous ability for this anxiety to become more and more crippling until the anxiety has this person just lying on the ground, not even able to move, much less move in circles. We get to the chorus, and I can hear your dog whistle from my bedroom. Yeah, yeah. And I can see a flashlight cutting up the trees behind my house. Yeah, 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 yeah. Interestingly, there's okay, so there's actually three. It looks like, man, it's hard to read this because there's so many different vocal sets. Okay, so we have our primary vocalist, Bryan. We have our secondary vocalist, Adrian Gold, and that's it. So I had mentioned that there were two males and a female, and the two males are actually the same, even though I felt different qualities to them, different timbres. I even mentioned one was brighter than the other. And I wonder how much of that has to do with one being more of a higher pitched singing sound, and then the primary vocals being that sort of colloquial speaking singing. Um, but yeah, we have moments here in this chorus where it's just Bryan, just Adrian, or the two of them harmonizing, and all three of them have different things being said. There's three lines going on at one time. So we have, and I can hear your dog whistle from my bedroom. Yeah, yeah. Both of them say that. And we have, and then Adrian says, I can see a flashlight cutting, a flash, up the tree lights behind my house, light. So it's interesting that Bryan starts out and says, I can see a flashlight cutting up trees behind my house. And through that, Adrian states, I can see a flashlight. I wonder if these are supposed to be viewed as different perspectives, or if this is just a nice way of sort of taking the first few syllables and stretching them out underneath as a foundational element of our lead vocals with the entire sentence. As for what it means, though, I can hear your dog whistle from my bedroom, and I can see a flashlight on the trees behind my house. I don't know. Dogs can't whistle though. So this is either somebody whistling for a dog or it's the metaphorical dog whistle of saying a specific phrase that you know only a few people are going to get. Or it could just be a dog whistle, a high pitched tone that dogs are going to hear that humans can't. He says he can hear it, even in his bedroom. I don't know. A lot of possibilities there. So, verse 2, she says a lot of the kids we graduated with are now homeless, which puts them in mad shady situations with mad shady people, if not every day, then on every other day basis. And she probably with a few of them right now, and they're probably just drinking and talking about how she misses getting messed up and hanging around. And he says, "Hey, you're good at that." And she says, "Thanks, it's kind of all I got." And then she looks away and says, "It's also all I need." So again, just kind of talking like a very colloquial kind of speaking style here. Um, but I don't know what's going on. Uh, there's this other person, right? We already talked about this in our opening verse. Our narrator is smitten with this other person and wishes that they were still here. Haven't quite figured out where the here is yet. But anyways, this other person hangs out with some of the kids from back at school, and some of them are homeless and they're not not in the best areas or situations. And she goes and hangs out with them and reminisces about sort of the immortality of teenage years of drinking every night, hanging out with friends, and not really worrying about what any of these what any of this heavy drinking could be doing. And one says, "Hey, you're good at this." I guess drinking and hanging out, which is what's stated. And she says, "It's kind of all I got and all that I need," which is interesting because it goes back to our protagonist in the first verse who says that you're the only thing I need in my life. And she says the only thing she needs is friends and alcohol. The pre chorus says, "I can smell the plastic burning. I can smell chemicals breaking down. I got your last 3 emails, the ones where you said I was sorting some things out." Plastic burning and chemicals breaking down. Going with the idea of getting messed up. Possibly it's not alcohol. We could be talking about drugs of some sort. We go back to the dog whistle and the flashlight. And then the bridge says, "I'll read the flashing like a Morse code explanation that will mean nothing but take all night to figure out." Oh man, I know that. When you see a pattern that isn't, you try to figure it out. There's no message there, but you're looking for it. And maybe that's the thing here where he thinks the flashlight and the dog whistle are for him. And this other person that he's interested in might not even know he's there. It's, completely doing something separate. And he's going to be reading into those signals even though they're not there. And then this is where things get wild. Here we have the two male vocals and Adrian. Both male vocals are Bryan. We have 3 simultaneous ideas going on. And I'm going to look at them individually first. On the right, we have, "I am sad when I am sad, but when I'm happy, oh God, I'm happy. There's just no place in between for us to meet." And that goes on ad nauseum. Yeah, identical, every single line. The left, Bryan says, "Please fall asleep so I can take pictures of you and hang them in the room. When I wake up, everything's all right. You're still here, happy, smiling, laughing. You're everything I need in my life." And repeats that. So we get a reprise of the first verse. And Adrian comes in and says, "I can smell plastic burning and chemicals breaking down. I got your last 3 emails. The one where you said I can smell plastic burn." Oh, okay. Huh. So yeah, to me this feels very much like anxiety, wanting to be with somebody. Although the first the first verse is kind of creepy now. It seems like our narrator is post relationship and is creeping in on the girl he's smitten with. It says, "Fall asleep so I can take pictures of you and hang them in my room so I can pretend that you're still here and still happy." Kind of getting creepy there. Other than that, though, it definitely feels like somebody who has a lot of anxiety and stress in their life because they've lost somebody to addiction. And they see signs that maybe this other person wants help. They get the emails, and they get, they're seeing the light outside and they think it's Morse code because it's on the tree behind their house. Um, and they hope that maybe they can see this as a call for help and they can help this person out. But that's not how it goes. And not only do they have to deal with the stress of not being with this person, which they said earlier that they're the only thing they want and need in their life, but they also have to watch them harm themselves. As I said, you go out and go to these shady situations and meet shady people and get messed up. You go out there drinking and doing drugs, and who knows what's going to happen. And they have to deal with this, two negative emotions that are really going to, affect them mentally and emotionally. And I think that sort of whirlwind of emotions is met in the end of this track. I don't know that every other aspect really lines up with that. I don't know how the trumpet and the guitar kind of fit in, if they fit in at all. I think it's interesting that through most of the song, they're kept separate until the ending. And what's up with the kind of mostly positive vocal melody that's played against, the dreary chords and stuff like that? Like, there's a lot of things in here that I don't know particularly line up, but the outro, the idea of anxiety, of the push and pull throughout the song, I think work really well within this context of really caring about somebody and watching them push you away while they also harm themselves, and trying to figure out how to emotionally deal with that situation. And they did a really good job finding a way to bring that together musically, especially in the outro, which was entirely dependent on the rest of the song being how it was. Even if I can't find specific reasons thematically for some of the choices, they're necessary to, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, give the outro the impact it needs. So, yeah, really enjoyed this. Those are my thoughts on the Front Bottoms Flashlight. That's where you guys come in. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this one or not. Anything that stood out to you. Anything you'd like to add on or correct me on. Let me know. Above the comment section is a description box, and there's a link for Linktree. Takes you to this menu right here. Has everything related to the channel on it. You can join me on Discord, follow me on Twitter, support the channel through Patreon, and a bunch of other stuff. Go ahead and check it out. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. Alright, we have a creator request coming up next. Otherwise, we'll be back on Sunday for the Patreon live stream. That'll be made available for the public to view Sunday evening at the earliest, Monday morning at the latest. Those times are EST. There's no album review this week, so nothing coming out on Saturday. And then Monday we'll start next week's theme of heavy metal origins, where we look at where heavy metal came from. Bands like Iron Maiden and Black Sabbath and stuff like that. Judas Priest, I think. We'll see what's going on there. It's going to be an interesting week, that's for sure. Alright, until next time, remember to be critical but not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.